And you're still involved to this day. I mean, apart from broadcasting every year, which you do a wonderful job, but you're involved in other ways too, aren't you?
Well, a lot of ways, yeah. From the novelty side to drawing new boats. I just finished a new design that I hope we'll get a good solid look at, a new turbine, and yeah, I've studied them long enough. I think I maybe can contribute there.
You know, there's another guy who's also, I mean, hydros are his life. And he took it upon himself to initiate and start to build a hydroplane museum, which has yet to come to full fruition, but it will before too long. Here's his story.
I got started working down at the lake and getting involved with the people in the sport and finding out that the history had never been saved. I decided that I wanted to give it a shot.
Bob Williams is the ultimate hydroplane racing fan. Ask him about some of the hydroplanes and other memorabilia he's collected, and he'll tell you stories of people who love this sport and want it to be remembered.
Jerry Bangs was the driver that lost his life in a boating accident, and when his 9-year-old daughter came up to me with her dad's driving uniform all folded in her arms and gave it to me, I think that probably sentimentally means as much as anything I have.
That's saying a lot when you look at his collection of hydroplanes, including the winning Miss Bardall and Miss Thriftway. And now the Smithsonian is donating the winningest hydroplane of all time, the Blue Blaster, the hydroplane in which racing legend Bill Munsey lost his life. Boat racing has been going strong since the first race back in 1902, especially here in Seattle. But before Williams came along, there was no museum designed to preserve its history. Now, the only boat racing museum in the world is open. But if you want to see it, you have to go to Williams' house. Kind of a strange place to experience almost 90 years of hydroplane racing. But all of that could soon be changing.
Well, we put the Thriftway on display at a business along I-5, and C.R. Roberts, a columnist for the Tacoma Tribune, wrote an article on it. And an architect read the article, got a hold of us, and told us to get a hold of the historic officer in Tacoma, and one thing led to another into business discussions, and we got our lease.
When all is said and done, the job of putting this into a museum will cost about $5.3 million, a price Williams and museum members cannot pay on their own. Williams says he needs help in preserving this racing past for the future. Without that help, his dream could remain nothing more than an image on his wall. If you'd like to help out, you can send your contribution to the International Unlimited Hydroplane Hall of Fame and Museum, Post Office Box 48342, Seattle, Washington, 98148-0342. It'll really be great when that hydroplane museum really gets off the ground, and they can sure use some help financially.
Yes, they can, and any contribution, not only of dollars, but of time and effort, as well as those artifacts you might have in your attic, would be most appreciated. Bob and Shirley Williams have done just an outstanding job, and this is going to be one of the country's truly marvelous museums when it's finished. There's so many memories there.
And there's no region that better deserves it than right here in the Puget Sound area with its wonderful tradition.
Of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we're still waiting for the hydros to come down the street, but they will. They promised us they will. We're counting on it. Maybe they really do have butterflies in their stomach and they can't seem to get things to move.
They all have to get back to the pits tonight anyhow, so they got to go through us to get there.
Okay, well, we'll take a break.
Of course, is the Slo-mo-shun IV, the U-27, the boat that brought unlimited hydroplane racing to the Pacific Northwest. This fantastic race boat, raced from 1950 to 1956. In the cockpit of the boat is the same man who drove the boat its last race, Joe Taggart. He is 82 years old. And next to him is Ken Muscatel, who spearheaded the restoration of this boat. And on Sunday morning, the Mo will run again for the first time in 38 years.
Mike, look at this little pink jobber here.
The little pink job looks like the old Hawaii Kai, but actually that's just the pretty cool on the Rainier Dry, and that's their race boat. This is, of course, the Rainier Cup, and they've added a class and excitement to this sport that has made Seattle really proud of them. And that's Don Jones, of course, who is the managing director of the Unlimited Racing Commission, the commissioner, if you will. The next unlimited hydroplane we're going to look at is the Winston Eagle.
Oh, that's a pretty boat, Mike.
They call this boat the lobster boat. This particular boat has an unusual design. It isn't yet proven. It ran on the Eastern Circuit with a little bit of success, but they've got a little more work to do on it. That's the Winston Eagle.
Mike, doesn't it freak out the people that build the boats and race them to have all the people sitting on top as they do coming down during the parade route?
No, somebody will clean that up and polish off the footprints by morning, no problem.
But there's no fear of any damage to the boat or anything?
Not really, no. That particular Winston Eagle is their display boat. That's not actually their running hydroplane.
What speeds are we going to see out on the lake? How fast they get these days?
Fastest qualifier, Miss Budweiser today at 158 miles an hour. If you can't run a 150, you can't win.
Is that right? I love the Circus boat. It's so colorful.
This organization has been such a contributor to the sport, and this is their brand new Ron Jones design, which is not yet raced. This is the wildest thing to come off the drawing boards in a long while. That's the whole crew, by the way, up there. There's Chip Hanauer, who's on board the race boat, and there's Dave Villwock, who is the crew chief and a fine driver in his own right, a man who ran this boat about 142 on Lake Washington just yesterday. This is the next Circus, not this year's boat. This will not race Sunday. This is the race boat that they are developing. The sport has become extremely professional, and they've got next year's boat racing this year in a test format already.
Here comes Bernie.
Since 1963, this gentleman has come to Seattle with a new Miss Budweiser every single year. Bernie Little is from Lakeland, Florida. That's his wife, Jane, beside him. And Bernie has been just Mr. Hydroplane Racing. He has had an exceptional influence on this sport and is just revered. And this, of course, is his race boat. They call this boat Thumper. It's been around a while. Since 1986, as a matter of fact, it is the preferred of the Miss Budweiser fleet. There are three. Tom Deeth prefers to drive this race boat, and it is state-of-the-art. And that gentleman up there waving is Tom Deeth. This man was the first man to ever break 160 miles an hour on a 2-mile race course. Tommy is the boat to beat, certainly Sunday.
And the Miss Pringles.
The Mr. Pringles actually features, Herb, a bunch of boys from Mount Baker who grew up with me. Danny Hyde's the crew chief. He was a neighbor of mine. He used to race behind his bicycle.
Really?
Yeah. His whole family, Dan and David and Rick, the whole crew comes out to race. The Mr. Pringles, of course, is the Jif Presents, the peanut butter and the potato chip hull.
Followed by the Miss Mazda.
Yeah, the only other place in the country where the hydroplanes actually parade before a race is Madison, Indiana, where this Miss Mazda comes from. She's sponsored by the whole set people, the turbocharged people, and Mazda Motors here in the Pacific Northwest. And the whole set Miss Mazda is owned by 13,000 people on the banks of the Ohio River.
Hey, Mike, we're hearing we hear about what wind can do and choppy conditions on the lake. If we indeed get 95, 97 degrees, is that going to have any effect on the boats at all?
Well, the piston boats will have a little problem with the heat. The turbine guys will love it.
And the Oh Boy Alberto.
This is Seattle's boat.
Absolutely.
This is Seattle's boat. Started out in Mount Baker. The kids wanted to go to the boat races. Said, Art, sponsor a race boat. The Oh Boy Alberto, Miss KUBE. And this particular boat is the turbine Oh Boy. This is the Oh Boy Alberto family's 15th anniversary in racing. Jim Harvey, the owner of the race boat. Mark Tate up on the boat. We're talking 15 years, and they're running two boats in this Seafair. One of them is a Turbo Allison boat. The Allison was the first engine they ran 15 years ago, and then they're running a turbine boat. Wonderful family, an absolutely fantastic contributor to the sport. This is Seattle's Hydro. These guys are really terrific, too. The Jackpot Food Mart people have themselves a real race boat this year. This is the latest turbine sled also. The Jackpot Food Mart is one of the hottest machines to come along. We're going to see a lot of progress made by this boat, and the guy who drives that boat is Steve David. He's one of the nicest people that's ever strapped on a helmet.
How many boats do we have in the race this year?
We've got 10 boats in the pits. It's kind of a small field this year, but it's very fast. Here's the other boy, Oh Boy Alberto boat. This is the Oh Boy Alberto Wild Waves.
I like it says pepperoni
powered. One of them is jerky powered and the other is pepperoni powered. The pepperoni powered boat actually is from Madison, Indiana as well. It's the Ed Cooper Racing team. And this is the Turbo Allison powered Unlimited. And that is, of course, driven by Mitch Evans from